Hello teacher, well I'm Andrea Sanchez and today I'm gonna just explain about integrating strategies for requesting clarifications into language learning approach. Well, what is the importance? Well, teachers and students strategies for requesting clarification and assist them when faced with comprehension difficulties. This skill can be effectively integrated into various language learning approaches like task-based learning, content and language integrated learning, backward design, and project-based learning. In other words, integrating a strategy for requesting clarification into language learning not only improves comprehension and accuracy in communication, but also fosters autonomy, collaborations, and problem solving skills. This prepares a student for real-life situations where effective communication is crucial in both academic and professional contexts. Well, about the task-based learning, approach methods. Well, okay, which consists of three important points in these activities. Number one, planning stages. Okay, about this, during task designs, deliberately include elements that might cause confusions or require clarification. This could be unfamiliar vocabulary, complex instructions, or open-ended questions. Number two, task cycle. When students encounter difficulties, encourage them to use precise phrases like "What do you mean by?" or "Can you repeat that, please?" to seek clarification for teacher or peers. Well, number three, reporting stage. About this, during presentations or reports, a student can use phrases like "I'm not sure if I understand correctly," but to clarify their understanding before presenting. Then, the clear. The number one says content selections. Well, about this, choose content that has the potential for confusion due to such as a specific vocabulary. Number two, language scaffold. Okay, about this, pre-task key vocabulary and phrase relate to both the content and requesting clarification. This could be done through visuals, games, or role-playing. Number three, interactive activities. About this, designs activities that encourage the student to ask questions and clarify doubts throughout the lessons. This can be done through group discussion, debates, or presentation. Well, project-based learning. About this, we have two. The number one says project initiation. Well, during project planning, encourages students to anticipate potential challenges and brainstorm strategies for seeking clarification when needed. The second, project development. About this, integrate research activities where students might encounter unfamiliar terms or concepts. This allows them to use the touch language phrases to seek help from peers, teachers, or online resources. Backward design. Number one, identify learning outcomes. When learning outcomes could be a student can effectively request clarification with facing comprehension difficulties in the target language. The second, assessment design. Okay, about this, create assessment that requires students to demonstrate their ability to ask for clarification. This could be role-play scenarios, open-ended question, or presentation where they pause to clarify understanding. Number 3, institutional activities. About this, designs the lessons that use the pre-thought phrases for requesting clarification in various contexts relevant to the content being learned. Okay, the lesson about the lesson plan. Okay, is the lesson plan is based on the strategies, of course, and use the methodologies task-based learning. Okay. In this page says, a student will be able to explain the different stages of the water cycle in English. The second, students will be able to use the phrase, what do you mean by, to request clarification during the lesson. The integration of the phrase, what do you mean by, into all the stages of the lesson will not only help the student better understand the context, but also provide them with practical tools to manage the comprehension difficulties in English, fostering more effective communication and greater confidence in their language skills. About the introductory theory, we begin by briefly discussing the water cycles of water in English using visual association images or diagrams to illustrate the different stages. Then we introduce the phrase, what do you mean by? And we explain its use, also providing example in both English and the Dutch language. This phrase will be a key tool for a student to ask for clarification during the lesson. So, about the vocabulary. Key vocabulary introduction. We introduce and discuss keywords related to the water cycles. These words will be added to our words wall to help the student become familiar with them throughout the lesson. Then, activity number 1 says, complete the water cycle diagram. Okay, first, students will be divided into pairs to encourage collaboration and mutual learning. Then each pair will begin a simplified diagram of the water cycle with some parts missing or incorrect labels. Students will need to work together to identify the missing parts and correct incorrect labels. This will reinforce their understanding of the stage of the water cycle. During the activity, they will be encouraged to use the phrase, what do you mean by? To ask your partner for clarifications if you don't understand a term or concept. This will help develop their English communication skills and ensure they fully understand the material. About the second activity, explanation of the water cycles. After completing the first activity, correct answer will be reviewed in class and any remaining confusion will be discussed. As a formative assessment, each student will be asked to individual level of the diagram on why water cycle or write a brief explanation of the process in their own words. During this task, students can approach the teachers or their peers using the phrase, what do you mean by? To ask for clarification if you encounter any difficulties. This reinforces the practical use of the phrase in academic context. Well, finally, the teacher will review the explanation or diagrams and provide constructive feedback, of course, to ensure that all the students fully understand the water cycle. Okay. About the productions. Well, reflection on what they have learned today. The teacher can ask some questions such as, what parts of the water cycle were most interesting to you? Or how did the phrase, what do you mean by, help you to better understanding the topic, of course. So about the materials, well, in these lesson plans, we use some materials like pictures or diagrams of the water cycle stage. Word with vocabulary terms like evaporation, condensation, participation, other words. How with the phrase, what do you mean by, written in both English. Well, about the reflections, students will not only gain a better understanding of the water cycle, but will also foster effective English communication and peer comparison. Integrating the phrase, what do you mean by, into a phrase of the lesson will not only help students better understand the content, but will also provide them with practical tools to manage their comprehension difficulties in English, fostering more effective communication and increasing confidence in their language skills. Thank you so much, and thank you, teacher, for giving me the opportunity to explain you uh, the presentations. And that was all. Thank you. Bye bye.